approve the 9/13 meeting.
Second. Bill, don't worry about this.
Okay.
It says it every 10 minutes or so.
Okay. Well, and I assume Jordan seconded, so we will. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion is approved. Audience requests. Nope. Okay. Then let's move to the airport manager report.
All right. I had a quick thing. Bill signed the meeting minutes from last month in place of Scott, or do we hold off until Scott can come sign?
Either way, I think it's fine for Bill to sign the minutes since you are an acting president today.
Yeah. Okay.
Health vice president, you're an acting president, so it's perfect.
Okay.
And if a name is already printed, just cross it off.
Mark. Okay, we'll do that.
So we had a pretty good fuel report this month. Looks like we got our May 100 low lead fuel sales were actually pretty down, but overall we're up 5,700 for the year. I think it's fallen a little bit just for the gas prices have been going up.
Yeah.
It's $1.30 more expensive now than what it was last year. So,
I was wondering about that. Is it affecting your spread on your margins and so forth? Or you have any trouble keeping your cost and sale price in line?
Keeping our margin, but yeah, so it. So we're keeping our margins. It's just the volume kind of went down by 1,700 gallons. It looks like for low lead. But Jet A, we were up 5,800 gallons for the month, and now we're up 14,000 for the year. So that's still been going strong.
I don't remember from earlier discussion. Is the ISP fuel working out as much as you expected them to use when they moved in here? How's that working?
They're not necessarily hitting their yearly goal.
Okay.
But I've been talking with them. I think they're going to start their.
They've had a couple months where they
eradication stuff's getting ready to start up next month, so they'll be flying quite a bit more.
Yeah. Okay.
The program there will be going good. So, for the month of May, going to urban traffic, we had an increase of 77%. So with 218 operations for the month, we're still down 11% for the year on that, which that may be from us missing some operations too.
Probably Indy 500 was a much bigger factor.
Yeah, we had about 10 or 15 planes come in, about what our normal is, but we had a couple of them were quite a bit larger than what normally comes in. So didn't one guy buy like 1,000 gallons at one time?
Yeah, I want to emphasize too that we pulled almost 16,000 gallons of jet fuel this month, and that's more than we've done in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, we basically went through two truckloads, and we should have another truckload coming tomorrow. So off to a good start.
Is there competition in the market to supply you? Do you have different suppliers that?
We order everything through World Fuel, who's our fuel provider.
Yeah.
So I think they negotiate.
They shop price and so forth
to give the best rate. Yeah. So basically, I call them, and typically our fuel comes out of, like our Jet A usually comes out of, what is that, Claremont?
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
Claremont, that
and,
out there.
So we can usually get that pretty easily, although they called me today. I guess there's still a trucker shortage. So what normally would take 1 to 2 days for jet fuel is taking 3 to 4 days to get it now. So, and same with low lead. Low lead's always been a little bit longer lead time on getting it. So we would go, you know, 3 days, 4 days to plan on the low lead because it may come from out east or the Chicago area, one of those
refineries up there. Yeah.
But now they said it's 5 to 6 days probably lead time. So you got to
keep on top of your inventory.
Certainly don't want to run out.
Okay. Okay.
We did get the lighting upgrade bid was accepted last month, and been talking with the company that's going to be doing that. They said that their lights are on back order, and they don't have a firm date yet, but they're supposed to get back with me to find out when that, when they do have a firm date, when that's going to come in. So. And then we had our annual meeting with TSA in May, and again, he came back to review the meeting 2 weeks ago.
I was wondering, do you have to do inspections of people coming and going or anything? Or?
Well, we have to be alert.
Yeah, we just have to watch.
We don't necessarily
don't make them take their shoes off or anything.
But we have to watch for kind of out of the ordinary stuff going on. So that's what they were wanting, asking if we've had any issues or what we've been doing to kind of what our best practices are and if we're still holding to it. There's really not a whole lot of requirements for us because we're not a 139 airport, which is like what Indianapolis International is. We don't have scheduled flights coming in and out, but they were very impressed that we still continue to strive above average in what we're doing. We're trying to go above and beyond what a lot of places do. So.
And they did print a full report for us. I don't know if you guys would be interested in seeing that, but we could probably figure out a way to
put it online.
I was going to scan it in because they just brought a paper version of the big old binders. I was going to scan it in for our records anyway. And, that's a good idea. See if you guys would be interested.
Okay.
He also said that they normally charge people for that kind of thing, but they did it for free.
That's good.
That's all I have for my official report. But I wanted to see about, and maybe Sergey can help me out with this, but getting our negotiate like the offers that come in or our counter offers that we're putting out for the companies that are interested in the hangar and office spaces, particularly Bull-Jets, maybe getting the counter offer approved. Is that something we can do ahead of time?
Probably not ahead of time, but I can update you guys on that. As Rick indicated, we have a couple of offers going in for the new hangar space and the old NGC space. I've got throwing a couple of ideas back and forth. There's a good commitments on fuel sales that may lead to reduction in rent amounts, but we're still not there yet, I think, to really bring it up for you guys' consideration, because we don't have the outline of a deal yet, but it is coming. Well, we hope.
Yeah.
So is that maybe something we could ratify at next month's meeting if that happens?
Yeah, or we can have a executive meeting. Yeah, especially executive meeting.
Okay, anything else? Okay. Well, then we're ready for our corporate council report.
I actually just have one item for your consideration. The other two just updates, and I can start with that actually. There were two hangar lease amendments within the purview of airport manager. A couple of tenants are just switching from one hangar to another, and it's the same price hangar, so it's just a simple amendment to the lease, basically changing the number on the hangar.
You answered my question.
Yeah, it's a, and Rick can fill you up on
But-
that, but it's very.
But I just wanted to make sure he could handle that.
Right. Well, these stays the same, so that's why I'm not bringing anything for your consideration today, because it's the same lease.
Yeah.
I can't bring anything new. It's just an administrative transfer from one hangar space to another, but everything else remains the same. So just an update for you. And then the other one is, yesterday I received a final draft before my final review of airport emergency plan, which will be revamped pretty substantially. It's actually will piggyback from what Rick told you about the procedures, best practices procedures for a TSA. It's a portion of that, the terrorist attack or anything. No, it does not have to be a terrorist attack, but any sort of criminal activity is a portion of that. So we will upgrade that and bring you up to speed. I will be distributing that to you early next week for your review and comment, and then hopefully once that is done, we'll introduce it in July and adopt it in July. But it's probably been overdue for a while. Our current airport emergency plan is quite old, and the technology has moved on. The drones, for example, is a good example of that. So that will be coming early next week. Rick already reviewed it, or Rick's staff reviewed it, HR reviewed it. I have first review, initial review already done, and just putting finishing touches on that, make sure that everything flows well. So look out for that. And the only item that I will be asking for your consideration today is the contract extension with Hanson Engineering for professional services. We are on a 3-year cycle. If you guys remember, we approved that contract, or rather you approved that contract back in 2019. Hanson's coming on their 3rd year. As far as the agreement remains the same, and Susan will be able to answer any specific questions on that. The positive thing, their overhead in the approved overhead actually went down this year. So there'll be a little bit of savings for us. Outside of that, we've had a great relationship with Hanson. At least legal department did.
Oh, we have to.
It makes my job a lot easier. I really appreciate Susan's input and very detailed explanation of very technical stuff. I think it made me understand a little bit better certain aspects of granting, especially. And I recommend approval from legal standpoint for stuff to you.
So you're looking for a motion to approve the extension with Hanson Engineering for 1 more year. So
I make that motion.
okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That is all I have.
Okay, thank you. Then we're ready for the controller.
Just want to point out our overall for the month, we've outspent revenues by about $2,700, but the biggest piece of that is because of having to do another fuel tank fill. So the fuel sales actually are driving that, so there's no concern there for me. And then also I see that for the year so far, we're down $93,673. The biggest piece of that is we had our lease payment on the north hangar first thing in January. So once that gets kind of caught up with the revenues, that'll reverse. So I'm really not concerned on either one of those. Our current reserves are 31.6%. Really, we like to try and be as close to 50 as we can get, but as long as we don't go below 15%, we're in really good shape. On the final page, where we talk about the revenue composition and expense composition, fueling this month was 62%. So far this year, 62% of our revenues, and base operations 38%. Normally that runs around 65-35 splits, so we've actually got a little more revenue coming in on the base operation side right there. So that's a positive because that helps us to kind of diversify our revenue stream a little bit. Expense-wise, you can see we're right in that 65-35 split that normally runs.
When do you think we'll make that 93,000 up? What, one of the year?
Well, the payment we made in January is really for the entire year, so it may take most of the year to catch up on that, just because the fuel cell profits come in kind of spread out across the entire year. We don't get a big bulk of receipts at one time at any single month. So it'll probably be most of the year before we're caught up on that piece for the overall. But we'll start seeing the monthly flip-flopping where you have more revenues coming in than expense month to month.
Okay, other questions? Okay, thank you, Greg. We're down to the engineering reports.
Yes, start with thank you for the extension. We look forward to working with you for another year, and particularly getting the apron project moving forward. Just wanted to, with that in mind, update you on the apron expansion, where we've got 2 open grants right now. The first is the environmental assessment that the FAA also approved using environmental mitigation. The 401 water quality certification was submitted May 12th, and the agency comments are due on June 23rd. So if we don't receive them, then we'll start to follow up. Have not received any significant comments at this point. Didn't receive any on the preliminary submittal, so hopefully that'll move forward fairly smoothly. And then the other piece that's ongoing concurrently is the apron design. Partly needed the design information for the permit submittal, but also to position the project to be ready to bid for next year's grant. So project right now, we're finalizing the stormwater modeling, which ties in with underground stormwater retention. As we're putting down more pavement, we need to address the stormwater. With that, we're finalizing grades. As we wrap up the stormwater modeling and preliminary design detention, I'll be reaching out, working with Rick to get a meeting with city staff to review that. Because much we have to provide it for the apron, but also looking at, are there opportunities to, and it may be a local cost, but to build in some additional detention in advance to take care of future hangar development in that area. The other piece, the design grant, you may recall, was a multi-year grant where it used your non-primary entitlement from last year and a portion of this year. The FAA needed confirmation that the second phase was still needed. We've sent that in for them. And so it's being programmed as a multi-year grant. It does not need to go through all of the same notice to the congressional representatives. Essentially, the grants are already been issued to balance the funding. So it should be coming fairly quickly, and just kind of in anticipation of that, are asking the board to approve the president to execute any documentation needed for the 2021 multi-year AIP agreement with the FAA.
Okay. Would entertain a motion to that effect.
I move that we approve the board president to execute the 2021 multi-year AIP agreement with the FAA when received.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Carried. Okay.
Thank you. And then this year, you should also be extended an additional AIP grant for the environmental mitigation, basically buying the wetland and stream credits. We anticipate that coming towards, I'll say, the end of the grant cycle, probably August, September, because a portion is non-primary entitlement and a portion is state apportionment, where basically the state gets a set amount of money for the general aviation airport for projects that can't compete for national discretion, a little more priority, and that's what an apron falls into. So they kind of need to get everyone's bid prices and project prices before they distribute those. So just an update on that. At this point, no action needed. Okay. But just if you see a second AIP grant come this year, you know why the second one. One other thing to note is it'll jump numbers again due to the next item, the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation Act grant. So that one's actually the AIP 35, then the apron of the mitigation, environmental mitigation 36. So any question on any of the AIP projects or grants? Otherwise, I'll move on to the short version is Carissa grant. Is what they're referring to this. Indy South Greenwood as a regional airport is eligible for $23,000 in the grant. This is a 100% grant, no local match. It's a little more restrictive than the CARES Act last year, but operational costs is still an eligible item. So when the grant's received, that may be something we'll work with you to determine, or doing a pay request. The previous grant, we did payroll up to the grant amount. So whether you want to do that, or if there's another item, but basically, use the pay, then it can, within your budget, those funds, the opportunity. Just reimbursement grant. Yes, it'll be a reimbursement grant again. So Rick signed the application, meet the FAA deadline. So we'll be asking for application, and then the grant is in the system, and Scott should be receiving it digitally any day now. So also looking for the board to approve the president to execute that. So asking for application submission of the Carissa grant application, and approve the board president to execute the Carissa grant when received, and then also certainly they'll need to sign that as well.
Okay. Do we have a motion to that effect?
I'll move that we ratify submission of Carissa Act grant application, approve board president to execute the Carissa Act grant when received.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay. And
Good.
the last two items are just the status on the two existing grants. First one is the AIP 32, balance of 19,000 federal share, and then the AIP 34 with a balance of 92,500. Anticipate next month they'll be bringing the next pay request for each of those forward.
Okay, so that'll be next month.
If there are any questions, we have to answer them.
Nope, I don't think so. Thank you, Susan.
All right, thanks.
Okay, do we have any board requests? Okay, so we're then down to the approval of the claims docket.
I make a motion that we approve the claims docket for $62,028.95.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It is approved then. Okay, Deputy Mayor, is you? Any comments?
I would like to comment on Hanson's work, the Hanson team, whether it's, excuse me, they're all very responsive. So, it doesn't make a difference who you talk to in their team if you got a question or what. And that has been very nice and very well appreciated. So from that perspective, I concur, they've provided a very good service, and glad to see them on for another year. And for clarification, Mr. Weddle, I'll make sure I stay on that city controller to make sure everybody gets it. I'm pretty sure I heard him say
Yeah, he did. He offered. Yeah. Of course, he wasn't speaking for Jordan tonight.
Yeah, split his between the rest.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, our next meeting is July 8th at 5:30 p.m. We will adjourn. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. See you, everybody.
Let's see, so I need to sign the minutes.
I think so.